blister bottles in the car and you would spray in there, you'd also be able to work with that contaminated area also. Obviously the top of the head is an area where we absorb a lot of energy, and misting over that area is good. And then also you can use the external formula, which is the bath spot. You can also use the internal formula.
Which formula are you using, Minister?
This is actually Raphael's, so I don't know what's in his,
I think it's the bath spot.
but you can take the bath spot and just utilize a little bit in there, and then fill the rest of it with spring water, and then use that.
So that's going to get rid of the contamination, just as the environmental products that you talked about before, also like in your chlorine.
Right, right. Yeah. In other words, what it'll do is it'll work with what's around you in your immediate space by spraying. And then the other thing that you could do is once you've made up your formula that you're going to drink, and one of the ones that a lot of people get tested for is Breaker. There's two formulas, which is Clear and Breaker. There's other formulas, in fact, many formulas that you won't even hear the names up here. But those two are very common. And Clear works with the physical body, and Breaker works with the energetic body. Usually if you put the two formulas together, you're taking them not simultaneously, meaning drinking both at the same time, but simultaneously in the sense of the 24-hour period you're taking it. You're working with the physical and energetic body. What you can do is with Breaker, you can put it in spray bottles, okay, after you've blended it to the point you're going to drink it, and you can spray your food with it. So food that you're going to, your fruit and vegetables that you're not going to cook, you can spray it, and that'll work with the contaminants on that. And then also you can put it into, like if you're making sauces, spaghetti sauce or stew or whatever you make, and putting it in that also. You could utilize the other formulas that you're drinking, but Breaker is one of them that's very common that's utilized for that. Now, the bath spot is an external formula, so that you wouldn't drink, that you wouldn't put into your food, but you could use it for spraying your body. And someone who takes showers, they could use it, like I said, spray before and after they take the showers to get the effect.
I'm curious why there's a demarcation or distinguishment between inner and outer.
Formulas?
Yeah.
They actually do work differently. I know it in a very simple format. I don't know proprietary-wise what they do differently, except they don't work exactly the same.
Because I'm just a bag of water, a little topped out, hopefully less than before. So I just wondered why.
Because, well, like I said, I think it's the factor of, if you thought of the body itself functioning, like I said, once you drink it, it has to go through the systems. It has to go through the digestive system, lymphatic system. It has to go through all the systems of the body.
So there's a chemical process that I'm doing with according to the environment doesn't do.
Correct. Correct. Yes. And then the formulas that you're working on the outside is working a whole different system of our body, so that we can get the most effect from utilizing the Itarian Aqua system. In other words, Perfect Science is the name of the company that does and actually I don't want to call it a company because it is a science, and that is what you see in the environmental products. Itarian Aqua is actually the part of the company that's what we utilize on ourselves, what we drink and so forth, and use on the outside of our body.
So the material, the medicine aspect of it for people.
Itarian Aqua, right. In fact, for example, if say someone had a company and they produced a product, you could send that product to Terry Welsh. She would analyze it, and she'd be able to tell you what formula you could add to that, and then you could make it, yeah, exactly. And then the Itarian Aqua becomes your ingredient. And
Which is what's in the soaps.
Right, right. Like, for example, these are soaps that are made by a gentleman by the name of Wally Brown. I'm sorry. And Wally makes these by hand. It's incredible. And if anybody's even tried to do anything like this, it takes a lot of labor, so you really have to have the heart to do that. And when he makes these, he puts the formula into them. You know, so it's just really pretty incredible. So even if it's a case where you're doing something like soap, or if you were making shampoo or whatever it would be, if you would send something to Terry and she would analyze it for you, then she would tell you which formula to put in, and you would make it a part of your system, and it would expand the effectiveness of whatever you had. Even people that work with aromatherapy, we've actually personally worked with it, not to the point where we do work with other people, but in our own home. And we have found out that it expands the effect of whatever we're using. If it's lavender, you don't have to use as much. Even herb therapies, if we're used to taking herbs, you'll find out you don't have to take as many. You definitely are balancing yourself and whatever you're consuming to expand the effectiveness of it.
have a question. Because of the reasons you stated about all the things in even the health food, natural body care stuff, I make my own and not buy anybody's formulas. I just do aloe vera and vitamin E and lavender and all kinds of things. Anyway, if I were going to add some of this water to my formulas, would I have to use the body bath one or could I use the drinking one? Is there a real distinction? You were starting to talk about the distinction there.
Well, there is to a certain extent, but in your particular case, what you're doing, because you're actually utilizing it yourself, you could probably use Breaker in that, which is an internal formula. Because even though you're using Breaker. Because the fact that Breaker is the one, you can use some of the other formulas too, but Breaker is kind of like, if I wanted to call it an all-purpose formula, is one that you can put in your food, you can put it in things that you drink, you can spray food and so forth. And because of the effectiveness of what Breaker does with viruses, it would be really good to put into like skincare products and say that you're using. And again, the best way to do it would be is if you would make something, a type of skincare product, whatever it was, and if you weren't using it just for yourself, you could send it to Terry and she could tell you which product to use in there, which formula. If you're only using it for yourself, what you could do is put the Breaker in it. You can do that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there going to be a period during this weekend for question and answers?
What we're going to try to do is I'm really not going to take too many more questions. We're going to try to get through everyone, so you hear all of the presentations, because you need to know everybody's part. And there's going to be a lot of chances tomorrow for you to have therapies, to talk more, to have questions and answers, and you'll have more information also. So some of the things you're asking questions, we might already go through that information by the time we get through the weekend. And we're going to be here the whole weekend, all of us, so we can do that. So I think and the only other thing I guess that I didn't address was the animals, and we'll hear about that this afternoon, but do understand that their formulations are different than ours. And do understand that the different formulas do have different purposes, but they all basically will go into the body and do an encapsulation, and they're called a breaker system because it means it's breaking these contaminants. And the other thing is it's raising the energy levels. In fact, that was the other thing that they detected, like I told you about the superconductivity of the formulas, and causing a balance in the body. So a general principle, they all do that.
So, just back to the sewer treatment, I was just trying to get more detail about how often the treatment process you'd be talking about in commercial application. We live in the hot springs in Colorado amongst Fisterone. We have a wetland system. Another part of that same question would be, we're talking about live animals, fish particularly. We have several wetlands fish ponds that are a part of our system, and was wondering about hazard to the animals themselves that live within the wetland system and what processes that would entail in using this product for that system and cleaning the contaminants out of that without having to remove all the fish.
Right. Well, first of all, the one thing I will definitely stress to you is this. There definitely is a separation as far as we are part of the team of Perfect Science Arteria and Agua. Okay? If you were definitely dealing with just strictly environmental projects, we would not be the people you would speak with, because there's so much a part of this project that it has to be divided to be able to know enough information and work with people. But what I can tell you is this, it's just like, I don't know if you were in the room when we were talking about the fish tank with the fish. Were you here then?
No. Well, earlier, yes.
Okay. So basically, even in that situation, they were proving a point in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
But in a situation where you were working with a body of water, once they put the formula in, now this video didn't show that, and someday we'd like to reproduce a film that was taken when they were actually in Istanbul. They were actually showing where they did a project where they had cement receptacles, and they had a control one and one that was not, and they put the formula in, and then what they did is they put I think they added additional spring water, but I'm not sure, I can't remember. Then they put air hoses in it to turn it over. They've also done more, what you have to understand, every one of the small projects that you saw Mr. Dayoud do on stage when he was in the film, him and Terry did those in big projects. One of them that you saw was the municipal dump, okay, but they actually went to a body of water, they went to the Golden Horn, which is a body of water there in Istanbul, and they actually did work with that. Obviously, they didn't take the aquatic life out because they understand that that's not going to cause a problem. So they went in there and they did it. The thing is that those were done on a principle of showing that this can be done, not just in laboratory, but in big projects. The rest of it has gotten down to, there's been a lot of stops along the way, and what is not going to stop this if we put it into our own hands and work with it. So if we have septic systems, or if we have well water, or we have the city situation with sewer and city water, it's the same process. If we're using it and we're putting it through our systems of the toilets and down our sink, it is migrating into that element. And I guess an example would be is we were studying a project one time on a farm, and we found out that the horses were getting sick. And what they did was they were someone who was able to track where the well was in relationship to the barn and in relationship to a wash rack. And the wash rack was not only used to wash the horses, which a lot of times people were using different chemicals when they washed the horses, it was also being utilized for veterinarians would put the horses into the wash rack because they could put them on cross ties and they could work on them. And they would use certain things on their bodies if they were doing treatments. Each time they did this, it was going down the drain and it was going through the system. It was contaminating the well water. And that was only one element that was affecting the horses, but they actually had a drawing that showed where all the pipe system was. But I'm sure there's a lot of situations like that. So if you could imagine the fact that maybe it's going to be tomorrow or tomorrow, whenever, somebody can come and we've gotten to the level that a city or a municipality will say, yes, you can go in there, we're going to do these, we're going to allow you to do these corrections. We don't want to wait till tomorrow and tomorrow. We want to know now what we can do, the moment. We have to live in the moment. And the moment is you take it, you use it. And don't just wait till you wash the floor or do a dish or clean some clothes. Think about the fact you make it and you do it. You know what I'm saying? Because that is making the difference. So no matter where you are, you can do that. I'm going to stop. We're going to try to stay on schedule, and I think this is about time. And Raphael, I think we're going to take a break. And then
We're going to have a break now.
We're actually going to do
We're going to have a break, and then we're going to just present everybody else who's doing a presentation so that you already know who they are and what they're going to do. Just 15 minutes after this break. This is time just to kind of spread around and talk to people. And then
We're still, because it's living. And formula's need that life to get activated. If you're using good...
Heard what he said about temperatures, I mean, what about thermal water, geothermal water?
What about it?
The formula is being mixed in geothermal water that is very hot.
The formulas, the one thing about formulas is never use cold water and never refrigerate them. You can actually boil water. You can actually take your formula and heat it up and make tea with it. Heat only activates the formula more. So room temperature, you can heat it. You can make your chamomile tea with your formula. That's perfectly okay. It's cold that you don't want. Cold slows the formula down.
Does that revive when it's warmed up? Or it's not changed?
Well, I don't think it gets mixed correctly. The other thing when mixing the formula is you always pour the formula into an empty glass container. You always pour the water on top of the formula. You never pour the formula onto the water. It's part of the mixing up process. You'll find that your water is more charged if you use room temperature water, and if you heat it up even more, it just activates the formula even more.
One more teeny question. Is the osmosis water different from ozonated water?
Yes.
Reverse osmosis?
Yes,
is
reverse
that
osmosis
okay?
is okay water.
Okay.
Yeah. It's ozonated and distilled that we want to stay away from the tap water. Even really good well water, the reason we don't use well water is because it's coming through pipes and the actual metal strips the ions that are in the water out of it, so the water is next living as spring water. So that's why we always choose to use spring water.
So what about purified tap water?